Alright guys, another week and we are back for some more Championship transfer rumours. Obviously we are in an international break now, but the rumour mill does not slow down. Plenty to discuss in today's video. And as always, if you do go on to enjoy, make sure to drop a like. But without any further ado, let's jump in. Starting out with some Leeds United news. According to the latest reports, it is looking increasingly likely that Junior Firpo will be leaving the club at the end of the season, regardless of what happens with Leeds, whether they're promoted or not. Now, the 28-year-old is out of contract at the end of the season. Obviously, up until this point, there's been no agreement reached with Leeds to extend that contract. He's an interesting one, Firpo, because those first two seasons at Ellen Road, I think it's fair to say he struggled in the Premier League, didn't live up to expectations whatsoever, but he played his role in that side last season that obviously went so close to promotion, and this season, he's probably playing the best football of his career. I mean, definitely in the Leeds United shirt. He's been a key player for Daniel Farke's men this season. From left back, he's got 12 goal contributions in the Championship with 3 goals and 9 assists. And I think on the back of that sort of form, there probably will be quite a few Leeds United fans who are keen to extend him for next season, but it seems like Firpo himself has one eye on returning to Spain at the end of the season. It seems like there are a few clubs who are interested, but one of them being his former club Real Betis, which would obviously entice him. If he was to leave at the end of the season, that would leave Leeds with quite a bit of patching up to do, obviously, in that position, especially if they are going to be playing in the Premier League next season. And speaking of Leeds United, the long-term future of Manor Solomon also hangs in the balance right now. Obviously, he's currently on loan with Leeds from Tottenham, done really well for Leeds this season in the Championship. He's got 7 goals, 7 assists. Whether or not Leeds are able to sign him on a permanent basis probably depends on what league they're playing in next season. It's been reported that Spurs will be looking for a fee of around about 20 million if they were to sell him. And for a club like Leeds to be spending that much on one player, you're going to have to be in the Premier League next season, aren't you? But they will face some stiff competition, it would seem. Everton are another club who will be in the market in the summer for a new winger or two, and Solomon has been someone that they've been reportedly keeping tabs on in recent months as well. It's interesting with the Everton angle, obviously, that they'll be looking for a new winger. Obviously, someone who they've got on the books right now is Jack Harrison, who's on loan from Leeds United. So what happens with him in the summer will be quite interesting, I think. But by all accounts, Manor Solomon is someone that is being watched by the Toffees at the moment. And speaking of Everton being interested in a Championship wide man, West Brom's Tom Fellows is someone who is also on the Everton radar heading into the summer. Now, Everton had struck up an interest in Fellows going back to the January transfer window, but ultimately they weren't prepared to pay what West Brom wanted for him, and that's understandable. Right now, you'd probably say Fellows is West Brom's most prized asset. He's only 21 years old. He's under contract with the Baggies until the summer of 2027. Been such an instrumental player for them in the Championship so far this season. He's got 2 goals and 11 assists. And going off reports recently, it has been claimed that West Brom would be looking at least a fee of around about 20 million if they were to cash in on him. Whether or not they actually hold that for that sort of fee in the summer, we'll have to wait and see. But it does have to be said, if West Brom aren't promoted to the Premier League via the playoffs this season, this is the nature of the beast. When you're not a team in the Championship with parachute payments, you are relying on those big sales to go through to carry on sort of generating the funds for you, aren't you? With the Everton links continuing to resurface, that's definitely one to keep your eye on going into the summer. Now, I think we'd all agree that Gabriel Sara was one of the best players in the Championship last season for Norwich City. He got 13 goals and 12 assists from midfield. On the back of that brilliant season, earned a move to Galatasaray, where he's currently playing now. But a return to England has been rumoured, and Sheffield United are reportedly the club who could be interested, provided that they do achieve promotion to the Premier League. That's according to reports coming out of Turkey at the moment. Now, it is worth saying that Sara is under contract with Galatasaray until 2029, and so they'd very much call the shots on how much he'd be sold for in the summer and everything like that. But it has been suggested that he could leave after just one season with the Turkish Giants, and a return to England could be on the cards because of that. Now, Sheffield United were named as one of the interested clubs by the Turkish media, but reports from local Sheffield United reporters have since come out with a bit more clarity and basically said that at this stage it doesn't seem that someone like Sara would be a realistic target for the summer. But hey, it's still early days. I for one would love to see Gabriel Sara back in England. I think he'd be a fantastic addition for the Blades, but according to the more reliable local reporters, that rumour has been talked down. Could Viktor Johansson be on the move once again going into the summer? Well, according to reports, you've got a few clubs who are currently interested interested in the Stoke City shot stopper, with Bournemouth and Como, two of the sides who have been named as interested. Now I think it goes without saying once again, Johansson has been one of the best goalkeepers in the Championship, certainly from a purely shot stopping point of view. He's been one of the best performers for Rotherham in years gone by. He moved to Stoke over the summer and he's just continued that form really. I think that there's a valid argument that could be made that had it not been for Johansson this season, Stoke would probably be in the bottom three right now. In terms of goals prevented, he's actually been the best goalkeeper in the Championship this season. Based on the XG he's faced compared to the amount of goals he's actually conceded, he's prevented 14.6 goals this season. The next best goalkeeper in that regard is James Trafford, who's obviously only conceded 11 goals this season. He's prevented 10.7 goals this season. So that tells you right there just how much of an absolute animal he is in terms of shot stopping. I think I speak for quite a few people when I say I was fairly surprised that Stoke of all clubs were able to sign him in the summer, and that's absolutely no disrespect to Stoke, but I think even Stoke fans were expecting a few top 6 Championship clubs to be interested in him when he obviously had that tantalising release clause in his Rotherham contract, but they were the first club to act. They got that deal over the line in the end, and if they were to sell him in the summer, I think they'd flip him for quite a decent profit as well. Another week goes by in the Championship and yet another club is being linked with Joe Bellingham. He's being linked with pretty much every Premier League club under the sun right now, but Nottingham Forest, the latest club who I have seen interested, and it's quite interesting actually from a Nottingham Forest point of view. If they do make Champions League for next season, they qualify for that competition, the amount of resources and scope they'll have in the summer will be absolutely huge, won't it? It's been very well documented up until this point that plenty of the Premier League big boys and clubs from around Europe are interested in Bellingham, but Forest are definitely one to keep your eye on. They're certainly not shy of spending, and like I say, if they do qualify for the Champions League, you'd imagine they'd invest quite a bit over the summer. Over the past few days, we've also had some fascinating revelations coming out about Derby County's January transfer window and the targets they just missed out on towards the end of it. Now, in hindsight, Derby definitely messed up over January to keep Paul Warne in the job for as long as they did. It definitely deterred a few January targets from joining them. Obviously, they've had a real uptick in form in recent matches. Obviously, now Eustace has probably got his feet under the table, but had they made that move earlier, they'd probably be in a little bit of a better position right now, certainly in terms of the players they could have potentially attracted in January. The first of which is Man City's Jacob Wright. Derby reportedly had agreed a $2 million deal to bring him into Pride Park on a permanent basis, but transfer collapsed late on because of a few fears of how Wright maybe wouldn't fit into that style of play under Paul Warne, and obviously he ended up then joining Norwich City on a loan deal until the end of the season. Derby also saw a loan deal fall through for Kelechi Iheanacho, who obviously, after that deal didn't go through, ended up joining Middlesbrough on loan. And West Brom's John Swift also turned down a loan move to Derby in the final hours of the window as well. Now, John Swift's an interesting one. He is someone who potentially Derby could revisit in the summer transfer window. His current deal at the Hawthorns is set to expire at the end of the campaign. So that's one to keep your eye on, but yeah, towards the end of the January deadline, it just seemed like an absolute mess at Derby. Both Hull City and Norwich are supposedly interested in Venezuelan attacking midfielder Luis Fernando Carrero. The 18-year-old is currently playing in his native country and is under contract until the end of 2026, but is supposedly open to a move to Europe this summer. Now, obviously, I'm not watching a lot of Venezuelan football, that goes without saying, but having read some reports, it does seem like he's quite highly rated. Certainly speaking from a Norwich City perspective as well, they tend to have a decent strike rate when going after South Americans as well, so he's one name to keep in mind for the summer. Netherlands under-21 international Tyrese Sante was linked with a few Championship clubs in the January transfer window, but ultimately a move never materialised. You had the likes of Cardiff and Hull who were both supposedly interested in the youngster back in January. Obviously a move didn't come off in the end, but something could be happening ahead of the summer, and Coventry have been the latest Championship club to throw their hat in the ring as interested. Now, he is still under contract with his club until 2027, and the club does have the option to extend that by a further year as well. So you might have to fork out a little bit of money for him, but by all accounts is quite highly rated. Well guys, that will wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and if you've seen any other transfer rumours going around the Championship, whether it relates to what's going to be happening in the summer, players out of contract at the end of the season, get all your thoughts in the comments down below. Other than that though guys, thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.